Oh, if you can hear me, can you send a message in the chat box? Oh, okay. So I think other parents, they are still coming in, but we shall take this time to start our parents meeting now. First of all, again, let me check if my device is working well. So if you can hear me and can see my video here, can you reply in the chat box here? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Ah, perfect. You can hear me. Okay, how about 瑞士? Ah, perfect. I see. So we're not waiting for other parents, so we shall start directly. Okay, first of all, a big welcome to every parents and children here. Being punctual is a very good thing. Please keep it up. And so actually, before this parent meeting, when I was preparing for it, I was wondering, do we really need such parent meeting? Like, can't I just talk to the students or to the parents directly and individually? But then when I think about it, I have already communicated with our parents and children previously, but there are still some problems with our students that remains unsolved. Or also, I found out that there are some common problems that exist in our students in class. So yeah, I think I still want to use this chance, use this opportunity to share the progress our students make currently to the parents. Okay, so for this parent meeting, it will be divided into 3 sections. Now, for the first contents, I will be talking about our exam result analysis. So, as you can see that in our last week, we don't have any new topics, but instead we spend 1 hour in our revision and we spend another 1 hour for the exams. So, I want to have some comments about our exam results to the parents. And for the second section, we'll share about currently what problems does our students have and how to solve it. Okay, and for the third section, I will share with the parents and also the students our plans, our learning plans in the future. Now, you've been wondering in our future lessons or in the future terms, what will we be learning and what is the focus on? So I'll share that in the third section. Alright, so without further ado, let's first take a look at the first section, the exam result analysis. So as you can see, last week we spent 1 hour on this exam. Now this is our exam paper. In total it had 10 questions with 1 more extra questions here. And then let's take a look at the details about the topic that is tested. As you can see, from question 1 to question 11, all these questions are actually tested on what we learned from lesson 1 all the way to lesson 6. Now, this can be separated further into 2 kinds of topics, the calculation and the word problems. Now, let's take a look at the details about how our students perform here. So, the exam in total consists of 10 questions and an actual practice. And then the total score will be 100 and an extra 10 points as a reward. And also, the time will be 1 hour in total. Now, our top score in class is 90 points, while our average score is 65 points. And what I expect students to achieve is above 70 points. Now, let me explain why. So, as you can see in these topics, actually all of these questions are already learned by us in the previous lessons. But some of the questions is indeed a little bit challenging for the students currently. For example, for the question like smart calculation, now for question 5, the quantified sum and multiple question, and for question 8, the difference and multiple problem, the common decrease scenario, they are a little bit challenging for the current students. So if you did not get it correct, that is also acceptable. But for other questions, that is just very foundational. So if you get other questions incorrect, try to do some revision before the next lesson. Also, if you did do these 3 questions wrongly, also try to figure it out by yourself. Or if you have any questions, just approach me. I can explain this to you again. For question 11, again, this is much more difficult. So actually, I don't expect all of you to solve it correctly. So yeah, if you do not do it correctly, that is also acceptable. Now, as you can see from the exam results, although all the questions are actually what we learned previously, but actually our student did not get all of them correct. So that means there must be something that is wrong, right? So now I want to spend this time to share with our children and the parents. Currently, what are the problems? What problems are there for our students? And then I will provide some solutions in how to solve it. Alright, so the problems can be generally divided into two parts. The first part would be the habit related issues, and the second part would be the word problems. Now for the habit related problems, it's the problems that you can solve it, but you just can't obtain the point. That's really a pity because of some careless mistake or because of the habit related issues. But for the word problems, it is the problems that is hard to comprehend. So that part I will teach you later in advance. So let's first take a look at habit problems. For habit problems, the first habit problem will be the listening habit during class. Now, during class, we advise students to put your pens down and eyes on the blackboard. Always focus on the teacher. Now, let me show you an example here. In this graph, can anybody tell me which student that does not satisfy our requirement here? The student wearing which color of the clothes is not satisfying our requirement? You can reply in the chat box. Pink student. Yes, she is holding. You see, she is holding a pen here. She's not listening in the class. Oops. And also for this girl who is wearing in yellow, you see, she's also not looking at the blackboard. She's doing the question in advance. Now, this is not recommended by us. Actually, this is not allowed by us. Because you see, during the class, you're here to listen to the teacher, right? So, you need to pay fully attention to the class, to the teacher. Now, this is what I recommend in class. So, during class, please, all the eyes on the blackboard and just focus on me 100%. Okay, so this is what we encourage students to do. But during class, I still notice that for our students, sometimes you will tend to get distracted by your pens, by your water bottle, by your clothes. So previously, when I find out that you're not looking at the blackboard, then I will tap the blackboard and tell you to pay attention. But in the future, I decide to be more strict to you. So if I find out that you get distracted and not looking at the blackboard, then I will directly call out your name. But don't treat this as a punishment, because I'm calling you because I like you. I want the best for you. So what is the best thing in class? Just focus on class and put your pens down. So in the future, if I saw you have been distracted by anything else, I'll just call your name. Now for this part, I would especially praise Ruishi, because during class, I noticed that Ruishi have always been paying attention in class, and then you have been actively raising your hands and asking my questions, answering my questions, right? So yeah, you did a good job, Ruishi. Please keep it up in class. Okay. Now for other students, also during class, please pay full attention to me. All right. Do not get distracted. So that's the one habit problem, listening habits. So during class, please eyes on me. For the second related habits is about the questioning habits. Oops. The questioning habit, it means during class, of course you have problems, right? So if you have any questions, I encourage you to ask me. During class, if you have any questions, you can ask me during the class break, or you can also ask me after the class, right? So this is what our students do here. But currently, I'm very glad to see that our students, you have already feel comfortable asking me. So you see, I'm not a scary teacher, right? I'm not gonna blame you. I'm not very angry with you. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me. Okay. Sometimes you might notice that in the first few lessons, I tend to let the students stay until very late at night, like probably at 10 or 11. That is because I want you to fully understand the topic we learn in lesson. But later I find out that for some of our students, you might have lesson in the next morning. And also for a kid in such an early age, sleeping late is not a good thing. So I tend to let you go in the earlier time. So probably I'll let you go at 9. But if you still have any question and you want to approach me, just feel free to ask me. I'm also very glad. I'm also okay to stay very late. Okay. But if you're not approaching me proactively, that means sometimes you might still have some problems at home. So if you have any problem at home, I encourage you to approach me with your phone. Okay, bring questions to me after the class. For this, I want to praise for Ziqi and Bernice very well. So Ziqi and Bernice, they have my contact number. So whenever they have questions, they will ask me questions, and then I can arrange a session to explain to them again. So you did a good job, Ziqi and Bernice. Please keep it up. And don't hesitate to ask me questions. Why are we asking questions to teachers? Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a real story that Teacher J has gone through before. So when I was a student, so at that time we are sitting in school in pairs, right? So I have a seatmate. Now my seatmate at that time is a girl. Now she is the top in our school, not in our school, but top in our class. So during each exam, she'll score very high, like she'll be a top 5 in our class. But then when I'm communicating with her, I don't think she's much smarter than me. So at the time, I'm wondering why is she able to obtain such a higher mark than me in math exams. Then I try to observe her. Then I found out that after each lesson, when I and my friends, we will hang out outside of the classroom. She, in contrast, she will stay there and sort out her doubts, and then she will approach the teachers. She will ask the teachers the questions one by one. So, and I find out that because of that, she will have no doubt after each class. But in contrast for me, at every lesson I will have some doubts, but I tend to not solve them. So as time goes, I will have more and more doubts. So my gap between me and her will get larger and larger. So you see, if you clarify your doubt after each lesson, then you will be more familiar with this kind of topic from time to time. So then you'll become better and better in maths. But some students might wondering, if I ask Teacher J questions, will he think I'm not focusing on class? Will he think that I'm not that smart? I have this thought when I was a children, when I was a student. But then, when I become a teacher, I know that this is actually not the case. So this is completely different. Now as a teacher, I really wish you approach me with your questions, because that shows you are a person who want to solve your question, who want to solve your problem. So I'm really glad to see you bring questions to me. But sometimes, currently our students, when you bring questions to me, you just take a photo and send to me. But sometimes I feel a little bit sad, because you see, if you send me the photo and tell me to solve this question, then what's the difference between me and ChatGPT? So for ChatGPT, you can also send me the photo and tell him to solve the question for you. So what's the difference between me and the machine? So in the future, I encourage you, for the students, if you approach me with the questions, bring the questions together with your thoughts. So for example, you can ask Teacher J, Teacher J, I don't know how to solve this question. Because I don't know what this question is asking for. Can you give me some hints? Or you can also ask me, Teacher J, I understand what this question is asking for. So to answer this question, I need to find out the length of this rectangle. But now the problem is I don't know how to find out the length. So can you give me some hints? Then I'm very happy to give you some hints. So in this way, although our communication might be a little bit slower than I directly give you the solution, but as time goes, you will develop a sense of mathematical thinking. So yeah, that's what I encourage you to do. Bring me with a question together with your thoughts. Okay? So that's all about the questioning habits. So the third question, the third problem here, it should be the revision habits. So after each lesson, you need to do a revision. That is doing the homework, right? So why is revision so important? Again, let me tell you a story about Teacher J. So when Teacher J was a student, also I attend the tuition center. So I joined a Math Olympiad lesson when I was in P5. And then at that time, after each lesson, because we also have some homework, but after each lesson, I don't have a very good learning habit at that time. So I tend to leave my homework there, and I tend to do my homework until the next week, until we're about to start the lesson next week. So for example, if we are going to have the lesson on Saturday night, then I tend to finish my homework by the end of Friday night, or by the end of, let's say, Saturday morning. But then when I attend my homework, I found out that I forgot a lot of things that my teacher told me in class. And then I just leave the question I don't know blank, and I just don't approach my teacher for help. Then as time goes, I didn't solve a lot of doubts. And at the end of the semester in our learning center, we also have such called the end of year exams to test it on how well we learned. Then Teacher J scored 60 marks. That is the lowest mark I ever achieved in my lifetime. So then I was very shocked, I was very sad, and my mom was also very shocked. So then she communicated with my teacher and communicated with me. Then we find out that my homework quality is very bad. I didn't attempt a lot of homework, and also I didn't have a good habit to attempt the homework. I attempt the homework at the last minute. So then my mom told me, no, you should attempt your homework at the time when you finish your tuition class. So at that time I finished my tuition class at Saturday night, right? So after Saturday night, when I go back home, my mom insists I need to finish that homework before I go to sleep. And then gradually I tend to grasp the contents and catch up with the class. So see, doing revision is that important. If you don't do this revision, then you tend to forget a lot of stuff. So to ensure you have done the revision, in Kaggle Study, we have some homework for you, right? So we have these 4 kinds of homework. First of all, you need to redo questions in the lecture notes. Second of all, you need to explain to your parents some questions. Thirdly, you need to do some practice questions at the back of your worksheet. And fourthly, you need to do some daily practice every day. Now, let's take a look at them step by step. Now, first of all, for the first 2 homework, when students need to redo the questions in lecture notes and need to explain questions to their parents, these questions are all questions we taught in class. So by rights, for students, you should have no problem with that. Because we'll have an after-class quiz, right? So if you have questions with that, then I will explain to you in the after-class quiz. So when you get back to home, you should have no problem with attempting these 2 homework. Now currently, our students tend to finish the redo and question explanation by Saturday night. Of course, sometimes you might finish it in advance, but I don't know. So you will only show me by Saturday night. So in the future, Teacher J decide to be more strict to you. So in the future, you need to finish these 2 homework within 24 hours. So you see, our class will end at Saturday 8:30 p.m., right? So directly the next day, on Sunday 8:30 p.m. Before that, please hand me these 2 homework to me. Alright? If you don't do that, Teacher J has prepared a poster for you. So in the next lesson, I will share this poster for you. Paste it next to your bed. Every time we go to sleep or you wake up, you see, oh, Teacher J is reminding me to do the homework. Then you'll remember that you need to do this homework. Okay, but if you still forgot to do this homework, then I will call you at any time. Okay, take note of that. Now you may be wondering, why should I tell you to finish within 24 hours? Did I just make that up? Actually, no. Actually, there are some scientific facts about this. So you see, there is a scientific fact. Now, within this called Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, now it tells you how well you still remember the contents. Now, in the horizontal line, it represents the time as time goes. In the vertical line, it represents how well you still remember the contents. So you see, as time goes, the content you still remember gets decreased fastly. There is a very special point here in day 1. You see, after 1 day, directly you have around 30% still remember. So our task is to ensure before this 1 day, within this 1 day, when you still remember some stuff, try to do this revision. Okay? Try to do review and explanation to your parents. Alright. Now after this 2 homework, you still need to do some daily practice, right? So daily practice needs to be done every day. Currently, our students only have a submission rate about 40%. Oh, I'm so sad about that. So that means out of the 5 students, only 2 students managed to submit on time. Yeah, that is not a very good figure, right? So of course I know that for some students, you might have some problem with your devices. You might have some problem with your Wi-Fi setting. So at the end of this parent meeting, if you have such problem, I will approach you and ask you if you have any problems with that. We try to solve this problem by the next lesson, okay? So we want to make sure after the next lesson, we can, if we want to submit the daily practice, you'll be able to submit it. So in the future, every student, you need to submit your daily practice. Alright. For this, I want to praise Christelle very much because in the previous lessons, Christelle is being a student who always submit her daily practice. So in the future, for every other students, you also need to submit your daily practice. If you don't, I still also prepare a poster for you. So together with another poster, paste it next to your wall, next to your bed. So every time when you are going to sleep or when you wake up, you see Teacher J is reminding you to do the homework, then you'll remember. Oh. And if you still don't remember to do your daily practice, I have no choice but to call you again. Alright? So that's all about your daily practice. Now I want to insist that daily practice, it is really important. Alright? So for other homework, you see, there is another homework, right? This practice questions. This one I allow you to finish by next Saturday. That is totally fine. Alright? So let's do a revision here. These 2 homework, they need to be done within 24 hours. Now this homework need to be done every day. This homework you can submit to me by next Saturday. Now I want to restate my attitude towards doing revision and then doing the homework. You see, doing the revision is very, very important. So if you're not finishing this homework, then that means you forgot the class contents easily. Now if you're continuously not doing the homework, then you're just forgetting a lot of stuff during the class. Then taking our class is just pointless. Then Teacher J will say that I will not let you to attend the class. You might think that, oh, why Teacher J is being suddenly very scary? Why is Teacher J being so strict to me? Actually, I don't want to be so strict to you, but the point why I want to insist on this because I want to be responsible for your learning results. You see, you have spent money, you have spent your time here. So I want to ensure you have achieved your best outcome for your learning results. So for that reason, I will constantly urge you to finish your homework. Okay, so that's all about doing revision and doing the homework. And let's take a look at another problem. When attempting your homework or when attempting the exams, when solving the problems, there are some habits that need to be improved. See, first of all, when you attempt the question, you need to highlight the key points. Now, after you understand these key points, then we need to write it neatly. Okay? And the third point, you need to do a checking after you finish this question. Now let's take a look at them one by one. Now for the first point, you need to highlight key points here. Now when doing key points, you see in this example, our student, when attempting this question, he forgot to highlight key points, this even number. Then this directly leads to his mistake, which is quite pity, right? Because he knows how to solve it, but he just missed the information. So if you highlight the key points, I'm sure he won't make this mistake. So in the future, I advise for all students, now you need to highlight the key points. What kind of points they are called key points? First of all, the number information. Second of all, the size information. Large, small, the largest, the smallest, and the same, the equal, something like that. And thirdly, what the question is asking for. Okay. Now, for example, in this question, it is asking for the largest possible length of each side of one tile. So you also need to highlight that. Alright, so this is wrong and this is correct. So in the future, I will constantly urge you to do this. Okay, I will constantly urge you to highlight the key points. Alright, the second step, it is about writing neatly from top to bottom, from left to right. Okay, let's take a look at some examples about our students' handwriting. You see, these are all our students' handwriting. Now it looks a little bit messy. So in the future, I advise for all students, you need to write neatly. You can take a longer time, but at least you need to write neatly. Also, I don't expect you to write very beautifully. At least it should be very clear. Okay, so this is wrong. Now, writing clearly is not only a good stuff for me to do marking, but also it is indeed good thing for you. Because if you write clearly, you will be able to catch up with the thought process and your logical flow will be more clear, right? So then, it will try to reduce your mistake rate. So let's take a look at some good examples. You see, this is an example of our student's handwriting. Now, you see, when she's attempting the homework, write down from top to bottom, from left to right. And actually, in the future, I also insist for our students, when drawing the model, try to draw the model with the ruler, okay? This will make your model more clear. So that is what we encourage you to do. Writing it more neatly will reduce your mistake rate. Also, for currently, because the question is relatively easy, you won't notice so much. But in the future, when you enter probably P6 or when you enter a secondary school, then you'll find out that the question gets a lot harder. And usually you'll take more and more steps, like 10 or 20 steps to solve one question. Then if that is the case, if you write it not neatly, then you'll find it hard to catch up with your thought process. Alright, so for every student, please promise me, in the next time try to write it neatly. Okay, except for that, after you attempt this question, we still need to do some checking. Now, one method to do checking is to do working backward. For example, when you do division, 96 divided by 12 equals to 8. When you obtain this answer, you can use this 8 times 12 and use it back to check if it really gives you 96. Now this method is called working backward. Also, we can use the word problems to do working backward to check. You see, in this example, after obtaining the answer, this student, she will replace the answer back to the question and see if it is reasonable. Now, this method is called working backward. And what if for some questions you can't do working backward? For example, when you are doing this mixed number addition, you see, when you obtain 6 and 5 over 9, how can we do working backward? So if you can't do working backward, then just redo it. Okay? Just check by redo it. Now, doing checking should be done after you tap each question, and then just try to do it very fast, just within 30 seconds. Just do a very fast check. That will be all. Alright, so that's all about the problem solving habits. Now let's do a quick summary here. Now, previously we have talked about the habit related issues, right? The first habit related issue, do you still remember? The listening habit. So I mentioned that during class, you need to put your pens down and you need to eyes on me. Later, if you're not listening in the class, then I will call your name directly. Not because I don't like you, and don't treat it as a punishment. It is because I like you. I want you to be good. So that's why I'm calling you. Okay? The second habit is the questioning habit. Still remember? During class, if you have any questions, try to solve it. Try to solve it during the class break, or try to solve it after class. And also, I encourage you to approach me proactively. Okay? Don't wait until me come after you. All right? And after the class, when you're at home, I also advise you to approach me with your questions. Don't be afraid of me. You can approach me with a question you encounter at school, or the questions you encounter during our class. But remember, bring your question with your source to me. Okay? And the third habit is about the revision habit. Everybody remember to do your homework. Okay, in the future, if you don't do your homework, I'm gonna call you. And also, I'm gonna tell you to put that poster next to your wall. What about the last habit? The last habit would be the problem solving habit. There are 3 steps about problem solving. First one, when you are reading the question, you highlight the important information. Second one, when you are attempting the question, write down every word neatly. Don't need to be very beautiful, just very neatly. And from top to bottom, from left to right. And the third habit is you need to do a checking, right? After each question, do a fast checking. Now that's all about our habit problem. For students, I wish in the future you can achieve this. If not, I will constantly urge you to achieve this. Alright? That's all about habit problem. Let's take a look at another problem. That is about the word problem here. Now I know when communicating with the parents, they are very frustrated with this kind of problem because their children have problem with comprehending this kind of problem. Now indeed, word problem is a big challenge for the primary school students. So for Kangaroo study, don't worry about that. In our course schedules, we will cover all of the key word problems that is tested in your P4 SC2 P4 end of year exams in our schedule. So if you follow our schedule, our syllabus, then you'll be able to cover all of the current word problems. Also, for each of the word problems, for example, see in lesson 3, we learn about the sum and multiple problem. So for this kind of problem, we will cover all of the existing variations that is tested in P4 SA2, in P4 end of year exams. So just try to understand and master all these topics. If you don't, try to do some revision. Any questions, approach me. Alright. And for for lesson 4, we also cover about the difference of multiple problem. You see, we also cover all of the variation that is tested in the P4 end of year exam. So just try to master all these questions deeply, and then I think you have no problem with this type of problem. Okay. Also, last week, except for the exam, I also shared with the students extra practice, right? I remind you to submit to me by next Wednesday. So in this practice, there are also some word problems here. After you attempt these word problems, send to me, and then I'll check if you still have any problem with it. If you still have any problems, then I will try to find some extra practice for you in the following lessons. Okay, so I will constantly give you some extra practice so that in the future you become more and more familiar with this kind of word problems. So finish about word problems. Now let me share with you the plans, our learning plans in the future. So you may be wondering what will we learn in the following lessons. You see, our class, first of all, our class name is currently called Initiation Class. So during the class, we'll cover all topics that is tested in school. Also, if we have any time, we'll cover some extended, interesting topics in maths. Alright, so our goal ultimately is to help you score full marks in school exams and also foster your interest in maths. However, our ultimate goal is to help you score AL1 in your PSLE maths exams and also at the same time foster your interest in maths. Now let's take a look at what we'll be learning in school in the coming term. That is after your holiday, after your March holiday, what will we be learning? You see, this will be covered in school in the term 2, right? Now I believe for chapter 4, I think most of you have probably learned it in school. So actually what we'll be learning is from chapter 5 to chapter 8. Now let's take a look at what we have learned in the previous lessons. You see, in lesson 5 and lesson 6, we already covered chapter 5 and chapter 6 at school, right? And also in lesson 7, we have also covered the angles topics. And also, we will be covering the rectangle and squares directly in the next lesson, in lesson 9. For table and line graph, that will be covered also in the following term, in the following lessons. So you see, we have already covered most of the topic that is learned in school in the next term. Now, what will be learned in school in the coming semester? Now, this is a topic that will be learned in P4B, that is P4 semester 2, term 3 and term 4. Now, let's take a look at what will be learned in our semester in the coming lessons. You see, in lesson 9, directly we'll learn about the area and perimeter of the square and rectangles. And then we'll cover decimals, and then we'll cover also the data. So you see, in our following lessons, we'll cover, let's say, most of the topics that is learned in P4 semester 2. That is in P4 term 2 and term 4. So after we cover most of the contents in school, then we will give students some revision about some word problems and also the revision about previous lessons and also some extended topics. Some extended topics that can foster your interest. Alright. Now, how about our course in term 2 and term 3? In term 2 is a holiday lesson. Again, we will try to focus on the school basic first. And that is two kind of topic: calculation and word problems. Also, we have an extra time, then we'll cover some extra extended topics. Right, so you can see here, this is our syllabus for term 2 and term 3. Now for term 2 and term 3, what is highlighted in green is the word problems. Now what is highlighted in the red is the calculation exercises. So you see, we'll cover mostly the word problem and the calculation. Okay, now what will we learn in the long term? You may wonder, from P4 to P6, what is our plan? Now we plan to finish all the PSLE tested contents from P4 to P5. Then, in P6, we'll have a whole year to start the revision. Right, as you can see here, in our P6 lessons, we have already designed very well how you should approach PSLE. Alright, so that's all about our long-term plan. Now lastly, I want to praise for all students. For every student, you did a very good job. I know that for every Saturday, you need to spend around 3 hours, including the before and after class quiz, on our lesson, especially it's at night. So it is really not an easy thing to catch up with our lesson. So for every student, I want to say, yeah, you did a very good job in our lesson. And also for every parent, thanks for your recognition. I really appreciate that. So in the future, I will try my best to help our students to achieve better score in their school and in their maths. Okay, so that's all for today's parent meeting. Now, thank you so much. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask me. Okay? If not, we'll end today's meeting. Okay, you can, if you want to ask questions, you can unmute or you can just type in the chat box. Okay, you're welcome. If you don't have any questions, yeah, you're free to leave now. Yes?